Hello everybody, how is it going today? It is Tyler here with Zone In Sports, and in today's video we will be doing a quick recap of the Week 4 college football games. We'll talk about a few of our picks and how those went, and just recap the games in general on what we saw over the weekend. And then at the end, I will actually go over the early games, Thursday and Friday night games for the Week 5 slate. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get into the recap right now of the Week 4 games. Our straight picks, of course, just did not do good once again this week. And then as far as parlays, we were on a little streak there of hitting at least one every week. And this week we were unable to bring one home. It was tough, man. We had a couple that were close, so it would have been nice to at least get one again this week, but we were unable to do so. So definitely be looking for a bounce back in Week 5. But going over some of the games, of course, we started Thursday night with a nice win on West Virginia money line. Friday was tough, man. We had that little two-leg on the Syracuse -5.5 and under 56.5 on that game, and of course the under hits. But Syracuse was unable to cover that 5.5 as they win just 22-20. Under hits easy, but Syracuse barely escapes with that victory. So tough split on that two-leg. And then Saturday, man, we started off nice with a 3-0 noon slate as Kansas -6.5 hit for us against Duke, TCU money line at SMU. And then Wake Forest, man, covering the +7.5 against Clemson. They went on to lose that game in overtime, 45-51. Still cover for us, of course, man. But that was a good game. Of course, I wanted Wake Forest to win. Not a fan of Clemson at all. I do like Sam Hartman a lot for Wake Forest. It was really nice seeing him being able to play this year because there was once a worry that it would be a lot more time before he was able to get back to football, if ever. But, hey, man, he's out there. He's good to go. He's been balling. But obviously their defense isn't any good. You let DJ throw crazy on you the way he did, and, yeah, anybody can score on you at that point. But, hey, man, their offense, it was a tough go, especially in the first half. Like, their O-line just couldn't get any hold up on that Clemson pass rush. Sam Hartman did not have much time to throw all day. He kind of just had to improvise a lot. Couldn't really go through his progressions. Just kind of had to wing it. And, it worked a lot of the times and was able to get to overtime, man, but could not hold on for the victory. Either way, they cover for us. Wake Forest +7.5. Nice one there. They get another tough matchup coming up next week with Florida State. So in our next video, we'll cover that game for sure. But yeah, that new slate was good for us. Starting the day 3-0 felt really solid, and then everything went to crap at 3:30. Didn't hit any of those, and only had one more come through for us later on in the day. And UNLV money line was solid for us. Oregon +8 against Iowa. I just didn't think Iowa's offense would score 27, and thought Rutgers would probably score more than 10. Not much more, but at least enough to cover 8. Either way, it's just wrong side there. Just the games probably should have stayed away from. Both teams stunk. Did not give out the under, which I know I've said religiously take Iowa unders. I did not give it out. And what do you know? The game went over. And yeah, it only hit 37, but the total was set at like 34.5. So it ended up going over. Like I said in the video, though, if I were to have taken that, I definitely would have bought some points on it. And the 4 points you would have had to have bought would have got you there. Oregon, man, I can't believe they found a way to win that game against Washington State, putting up 4 touchdowns in that fourth quarter to win 44-41. They don't cover for us on the straight play. They did hit for us on money line and -2.5 in most of our parlays, but I just did not expect Washington State to be able to put up 41 on that Oregon defense. So maybe that defense just isn't as good as I thought it was. But, sometimes these games happen. It was a crazy one. A lot of points scored, that's for sure. Toledo money line was a tough one, man, at San Diego State. They waited till the fourth quarter to score points. So they ended up being up 14-10, at the end, and San Diego State was able to go on a drive, man, and they got a touchdown in the end to win it, man. Under a minute to go. Toledo money line did not come through for us. I definitely expected them to score more than 14, especially not all coming in the fourth quarter. I thought they would have got around 24 to 31 points in this one, and I know San Diego State's defense is good for sure, but I just thought Toledo would be good enough to at least score more than 17 that San Diego State got. So a tough one there. Another tough one with North Carolina, man. Notre Dame went in there and put up a lot of points, way more than I thought they'd be able to. I know North Carolina's defense stinks, but so does Notre Dame's offense. North Carolina's offense never really able to get going. 32 points is solid, though, for sure, against a Notre Dame team that has a solid D. I just was expecting North Carolina to score a little more quickly, have a little more tempo, and they were just unable to do that. Tennessee, man, of course, minus 9.5 does not come through, as they were up by 11 at the end, and Florida scores a touchdown with under a minute to go to lose by 5 then and screw us on the minus 9.5. I did take them, I think, money line in some parlays, which would have been stupid juicy, but I don't know, man. Tennessee should have covered. Florida got that touchdown late. It stinks, but those things happen, man. But yeah, it was rough. Even more rough was Arkansas money line, as they lost on that field goal attempt late. Would have won it at the end, but it hit off of the top of the upright. It didn't hit it square. It literally hit the top of it. It was crazy. I don't know if I've ever seen that, where it literally hit the top of it, but it didn't cross like inside of it. So therefore, it was no good, and they lose by 2 to a Texas A&M team that I just am pretty disappointed with, because I was really high on them going into the year, and they have not looked good at all. I wasn't expecting them to win this game, and of course they do. So who knows? Maybe that defense they got's good enough to just hold teams off enough to get victories. Arkansas's offense, man, they had 14, I believe, in the first half, and took them a while to get that third touchdown. So if it wasn't for that fumble they had on the goal line, man, that was huge. They were about to score, and instead they fumbled, and A&M recovered it and went all the way. Yeah, that was a tough one. One we probably should have had, but like I said, that's just how these things go, man. You're going to be on the wrong side of these things a lot, and unfortunately it's happening to us more often than not here in the beginning of the season. And then Oklahoma, man, minus 12.5 against Kansas State. Like I said in the last video, there's teams that like to go back and forth each week on if they want to be good or not. Kansas State seems to be one of those teams. They look good one week, and they look bad the next. And then they come back, and they win outright at Oklahoma. I mean, yeah, that's something that we've seen before. Kansas State likes to randomly upset Oklahoma. Every few years it happens, it seems like. But this year did not seem like the year to me, man. I was very surprised at this. Yeah, Kansas State could not score at all the previous week against Tulane, where they lost at home 10-17. And then somehow you bounce back the next week in Norman, Oklahoma, and put up 41. Just very surprising to me there, man. So I don't know if I can mess with Kansas State games, man, going forward. And even saying that, I already know I've been looking at the Texas Tech plus 7.5 next week's staring me in the eyes already. So I don't know what to do with these Kansas State games, man. I can't believe they were able to get that win over Oklahoma. And another tough loss against the spread here for us on the straight with USC minus 5.5. Of course, I just had money line in all the parlays. But they only win by 3 as they get the late touchdown. 17-14 victory. It was a good game, man. A lot more defense than I thought there'd be. I wasn't expecting USC to drop 40 plus or anything like that. but I thought they'd be able to score a little bit more than they did. So, the straight doesn't come through. USC gets the victory, though. Yes, like I said, another tough week. There's at least 5 of these losses that easily could have been wins. Some of them, were just on the wrong side, but a lot of these are so close, man. It's tough. I just wish I was, at least split on being on the wrong and right side of these close ones. It's tough, man. For the teaser considerations we split on those as well. We considered 6 and hit 3. I'll mention a couple. South Alabama, they covered easy against Louisiana Tech. Tulane, man, they were laying 13.5 at home against Southern Miss, and they lost outright. So, like I said about the teams going back and forth, Tulane, who just beat Kansas State at Kansas State last week, now returns home, and you lose to Southern Miss. It's just college football, man. It's nuts. Vanderbilt wasn't even close to covering. Thought maybe, the way their teams look this year, they're a little better than they've been in the past. Thought maybe they'd be able to score, at least 1 touchdown, maybe 2, or, a couple field goals, but they only got the 1 field goal, and that was it. And Bama, just raced up to 55 points like it's nothing. And then Utah laying that 15.5 at Arizona State. That was solid cover there with them. Arizona plus 3.5 at Cal, man. I had them pushed up to, I believe, plus 7.5 in a couple, and also plus 10.5 in a couple parlays, but they were unable to cover anything as they lose 31-49 after being up 24-21 at the half. Yeah. So they were outscored 28-7 in the second half. That was a tough one, man. I felt real good about it, and it looked great at half, and it wasn't even close. So, I'll check real quick. There's probably a couple other games I need to talk about that I did not bet on, of course, and we'll go over those before we get into the early Week 5 picks. I'll mention real quick that Friday game with Boise State. Very surprised they lost to UTEP, a team that looked very bad the previous week. Then they come back and beat Boise, who maybe Boise's just not good this year. I don't know. Georgia, man, they actually had what I would call a tough game with Kent State. Yeah, they won 39-22. One of those touchdowns was late, so the score was actually 32-22 for some time in that fourth. So, I can't believe Kent State found a way to put up 22 at Georgia. But, I thought Georgia would win this game by 40+, and they won by 17. Ohio State, man, they absolutely crushed Wisconsin, man. They came out and made a statement in that first half as they were up 31-7 at halftime, man. Go on to win 52-21. Big victory for them. Kentucky, man, number 8 Kentucky. I believe they've moved up to number 7 now, but they had a tough little game with Northern Illinois, who is, always a okay MAC school over there. But Kentucky, man, only winning by 8. I don't know how much to read into it. It's not a game that I watched, of course, so I don't know. But thought they would have won that by a little bit more points. You saw Ole Miss, man. They pulled out a victory against Tulsa where they did not score at all in the second half and almost let Tulsa find a way to get the game tied. But they were able to hold them off late. Ole Miss wins 35-27. So Tulsa covered for sure. I believe the spread on that game was, I think it might have been 20. So, Tulsa covers for sure. Ole Miss, all 35 points in the first half. That is, I don't know, man. If you're only up 35-17 at half, I know that's a good amount, but you go on to score nothing in the second half. That's kind of questionable. I don't know if they were just content with being up and then just tried to run the clock to get to the end of the game. It looks like that might have been the case, as Dart only threw the ball 24 times, 154 yards, where the running back had 27 carries for 140 yards. Wow, that's nuts. But, maybe they just tried to run the clock the second half. Either way, Tulsa kept it close there. Baylor, man, with a nice victory as they go into Iowa State and win 31-24. Remember, Baylor was getting 2.5 on this game, so they were the underdog and they were able to win. I wanted to take it. Like, honestly, if Baylor was a favorite in that game, I probably would have took them. But when I seen them as an underdog, it just made me not want to mess with the game at all. And, of course, Baylor wins. So they still look to be one of the teams that will be fighting for that Big 12 crown at the end of the season. Another game that I want to touch on there, an overtime victory for Texas Tech over Texas, man. I'm pretty surprised by this one. I had a feeling it'd be, somewhat of a close game, but I thought Texas would be able to pull away with the victory in the end. Bijan Robinson, he still did his thing, 100 yards on 16 carries, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, it just wasn't enough, man. In the end, Texas Tech was able to get a good comeback in the second half, force overtime, and won, I believe, on like a 51-yard field goal to win it. So, yeah, nice win there for Texas Tech. They improved to 3-1 on the year, and I was not high on them at all. So, maybe they're a team to watch out for in the Big 12 as well. But Texas definitely not looking good, man. They're going to have to try it again next year. And Mid-Tennessee State goes into Miami, Florida, and wins 45-31. Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse for this Miami team, man. It's like every week they just look worse and worse. And they get absolutely whacked by Mid-Tennessee State on their home field. It's a tough one, man. Miami is not looking good. Big Ten matchup that was a key one to watch over the weekend was Minnesota at Michigan State, in which Minnesota went in there and they dominated. 34-7 victory on the road. Michigan State, man, looks like they are in trouble as they lose 2 in a row now. Of course, a couple solid opponents with Washington and Minnesota, but either way, they're just not looking good defensively, man, giving up way too many points. Can't really stop much of anything. Offense was able to make a nice comeback in the second half against Washington, but against Minnesota, man, they could not do anything all game long. So, yeah, definitely Michigan State, man, they're starting to look kind of sketchy, man. I don't know. We'll see how they bounce back. Minnesota, man, they could fight for a spot in the Big Ten title game as they are in the weaker side of the conference as they're over in that West Division. So look out for them going forward. Appalachian State, man. 28-3 leads are never safe in football. Appalachian State went off for 28 points in the second quarter to go up 28-3 on James Madison. And then James Madison did get a touchdown before half to make it 28-10. And App State just did not score again in the second half. And James Madison was able to complete the comeback victory, and they got it done 32-28 at App State. Not much here, but just wanted to mention East Carolina, man. They lose in double overtime to Navy. And East Carolina was at home. Very surprising to me. I thought they would be able to win that game easily. Didn't bet on it at all in any sort of way. And I'm glad I didn't, because I would have been mad. Because Navy got the win, which I'm very surprised. Northwestern, man, they have been looking rough after a nice week 1 victory. Well, week 0 victory, that is, over Nebraska. And yeah, they just have lost every game since then. And they lose at home to a MAC opponent, Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio is a solid program. So I'm not saying Northwestern definitely should have won this game. But to lose it at home, that's 3 straight, all home games you're losing. They're in trouble, man. They're going to be at the bottom of the Big Ten this year, that is for sure. Florida State blew out Boston College, man. It was one that I wanted to be on, but didn't end up messing with it because of, I think there were some injuries that were lingering going into the game, and I just didn't feel like even messing with it. But yeah, Florida State won that game very easily, 44-14 over Boston College. Louisiana, man, the Raging Cajuns, they just keep getting worse, man. Like I said in the last video, I'm just not going to mess with them going forward. See if they are able to bounce back, and they didn't. So good thing we didn't mess with them because they lost as, I believe, a 9-point favorite against UL Monroe. So who knows? Maybe Louisiana Raging Cajuns just want to be on the same level as UL Monroe. I don't know. It's just weird to see after last year. I thought they're pretty much similar, same team, and they appear to stink. All right, well, that's going to do it for the recap of the Week 4 games in college football. Like I said, man, it's a tough week again, of course. Lots of bad beats, very close on a lot of those losses. So, again, we will look to bounce back here in Week 5. And before we get out of here, we will get some early picks out there for the Thursday and Friday games before we get the big video out for the whole Saturday slate. I actually am not going to have a pick on the Thursday games at all. I believe it is BYU hosting Utah State. BYU is laying 24. I definitely think BYU wins this game very, very easily. That is for sure. But I'm just not trying to lay 24. Utah State is very bad. Remember, we faded them last week, taking UNLV over them, and UNLV got that victory. But yeah, BYU, man, very solid team this year and should win this game very easily, but I'm not going to lay 24 points on a Thursday night. Just not something I'm in the business of doing right now. But we ended up running some plays for Friday night, and I'll go over a few of the games and then talk about how we bet it. But yeah, first one is Friday, 7 o'clock kickoff. You got Tulane getting 2.5 points at Houston. The over-under on this game is 55.5. Tulane 3-1 on the year, 3-1 against the spread. Houston is 2-2 and just 1-3 against the spread. Last season, Houston traveled to Tulane and got the victory 40-22. For the trends, we got Tulane over is 6-2 in their last 8 road games. Houston has went over in 4 straight games overall and 6 of their last 7. Over in 5 straight September games and 6 of their last 8 following an ATS loss. So I'm actually going to be including the over in the play for Friday night that we will talk about soon. I'm not going to have a straight play for any of these Thursday or Friday games. I will have a little parlay at the end after we go over these couple of games. But yeah, I like those over trends there for that game. I think Houston and Tulane both have solid offenses for sure, and I can see them both being able to score a good amount of points in this game. The over-under is 55.5. I do like it as a straight play, but not going to give it out like that. What I'm going to do is get them down to, I believe, around 51 points, and go over 51 in a little parlay that I'll go over here in a couple minutes. As far as the ATS trends, Tulane is 5-1, their last 6 overall, and Houston has only covered 2 of their last 7 overall. So if you wanted to pick a side there, just consider that. Although in the matchup, like head-to-head, Tulane actually does not have very good trends against Houston. But as far as the general trends go, Tulane's are solid and Houston's are kind of up and down, some good, some bad. If I had to choose, I would actually take Houston to win just because they're at home and you get decent value on their money line, minus 142. But like I said, the play we'll have on this will be an alternate over. And yeah, we'll get back to that in a couple minutes. The next matchup at 7:30, you got UTSA laying 4.5 at Mid-Tennessee State. The over-under on that game is 62.5. UTSA is 2-2 on the year, 2-2 against the spread. Mid-Tennessee State is 3-1 and 3-1 against the spread. Last season, UTSA won at home against Mid-Tennessee. Final score was 27-13. And this season, I am actually expecting this matchup to be higher scoring than that. Last season, it only hit 40. The over-under on the matchup this season is 62.5. And this is going to be another over that I will buy points on and throw in the parlay that we'll go over in a couple minutes. But yeah, I like the over here, man. Looking at the trends, we got UTSA has went over in 10 of their last 11 overall games. They went over in 5 of their last 6 versus conference opponents. 7 straight on the road and 4 straight September games, which I believe that's this season. But yeah, 10, man. 10 of their last 11 games have went over. Mid-Tennessee State, they've had 4 straight Friday games go over, and they've went over in 4 of their last 5 following an ATS win. And I just realized I didn't even finish reading all the UTSA ones. But they also, UTSA also is 5-0 following an ATS loss on the over, and 4-0 following a straight-up win on the over. Basically everything I just said there. A bunch of good over trends for both sides, man. So that's why we're going to be taking that. Originally, I was actually going to play UTSA money line in the parlay. But after looking at the trends for that, you got UTSA does have solid ATS trends, but they are 0-5 in their last 5 covering following a straight-up win. So something to consider there. And then Mid-Tennessee on the other side, very good trends all around. They've covered 5 of their last 6 overall, 5 of their last 6 at home, 5 of their last 6 Friday games. Yeah, so if anything, I would lean towards them, especially since they're getting 4.5 at home. And my only worry with that was coming off the big victory at Miami, Florida. Like, do they come back this week and then stink? It would not surprise me at all the way some of these teams have been going back and forth. So that's why I decided to just go with the over. And I think I took it down to, I believe, like 57 points. But yeah, well, like I said, I'll go over that parlay in a minute once we go over this last game, which will be at 10:30. You got number 15 Washington laying 2.5, traveling to UCLA. The over/under is 66.5 on this game. Another one here that I would definitely consider the over on, but my gut pick was Washington money line, and that is what we're going to be throwing in the parlay, which we'll go over here in a sec. But yeah, I think Washington, man, the only thing that scares me is that they are on the road here. UCLA is usually pretty solid at home, man. Both teams are 4-0 this year. Washington has covered all 4 of their wins, where UCLA has only covered 2 out of their 4 wins. So something to consider there. This is actually Washington's first road game of the season, so something to note there. So who knows if that's a factor. Like I said, this is mostly a gut play for me, but I will go over a couple trends. Washington has covered 4 straight games. They've covered 4 of their last 5 following a straight-up win, and they have covered 9 of their last 13 Friday games. And on the other side, UCLA has a 0-4 ATS record on their last 4 Friday games, and they've only covered 5 of their last 17 against teams with the winning record. And they've only covered 1 of their last 6 matchups in Week 5 games. So, yeah, I like Washington, man. A couple decent trends to help back us up there, but mostly a gut play on that one. Just a team that I think seems to be a lot better than they were last season. And speaking of last season, UCLA went to Washington and won that matchup 24-17. And I will note with that, I think Washington's team last year was nowhere near what their team is this year. And UCLA, I think, if anything, possibly took like a very small step back, just defensively, because their offense is still very good. Like, if anything, UCLA is probably like the same as they were last year. And what I'm trying to get to here is I think that UCLA should have beat them a lot more easily last season. And with Washington being much, much improved, already matching their win total from last season, I just think Washington's offense, man, number 1 in the nation yardage-wise. UCLA's is very good as well. I believe it's somewhere in the top 20. But either way, Washington, number 1 offense in total yardage. So I like them to be able to put up enough points. Like I said earlier, too, another game that you could probably consider throwing an over play on, but it's a little bit higher number than the other games that I covered. 66.5, I would prefer to take it down to like 62, It's probably 60. Yeah, that's probably what I'd play it at. But my play will be the Washington money line, man. Just good gut play that I want to take. Both teams have really good over trends, like I said. The head-to-head trends on this matchup are very good for over as well. Most of them also say that UCLA covers these matchups most of the time. But it's a new season, man. It's 2022. This Washington team seems to be a little bit different. So we're going to back them, man. So hopefully they don't let us down. And, yeah, that'll do it for the Thursday and Friday plays, as we will go over the official pick. It's just going to be a little 3-leg parlay. And I ended up doing this on DraftKings because I could not get alternate totals on both of these games on FanDuel. For some reason, I think it was the UTSA game. I think that one did not have the alternate total points. But either way, we went on DraftKings for this one. A little 3-leg. Got it at plus 291. We got Tulane and Houston going over 51. We got UTSA and Mid-Tennessee State going over 57. And then we got the Washington money line. So nice little 3-leg there, man, for Friday night. Plus 291. Not risking a whole lot on it. If I had to, put like a unit on it. I know a lot of people bet in units. I don't talk about it too often. I will when it's college basketball season, but for this, I would say maybe you put half a unit, maybe like 0.4 units. Like if you bet $50, if your unit's $50, I would probably just put $20 on this. Maybe 25. If you're a bigger bettor, then that's your own world, and you just do what you want with that. You go crazy if you want. But yeah, that's the play for our Thursday, Friday games. Our early Week 5 picks, like I said, I'll go over it one more time. The 3-leg parlay on DraftKings, plus 291 for Tulane and Houston over 51, UTSA and Mid-Tennessee State over 57, and Washington money line. But yeah, that's going to do it, man. We recapped the Week 4 games and went over some early picks for the Week 5 slate. Be sure to stay tuned in the next couple days for the big video on all of our picks for the Saturday slate. And yeah, we look to bounce back, man, after a rough week. We'll get back on the parlay train, get those going. Hopefully hit a couple this week. And yeah, follow us on Twitter for those, at Zone In Sports. Remember, we post updates on there throughout the week on, maybe some line movement or, just general news in the sports world. Yeah, either way, follow that link down in the description at Zone In Sports, man. And, comment your thoughts below. And, if you want to tell me I stink at picks, that's okay. That's fine with me. Just know it's a long season ahead. We're doing a lot of volume. I'm not sitting here giving you 3 or 4 picks a week. I'm giving you anywhere from 10 to 20 every week. And, all it takes is a good week or two to just bounce back. So I know how this goes. I bet probably around 500 college football games last season. I probably overshot that one. It was probably more like 350 to 400. But either way, I'm just saying it's a long season, man. You got to stick with us, man. And even if you don't want to follow our picks, hey, you can fade us if you want. Do whatever you want with them. I just want to, spread some knowledge, talk about some trends and stuff. And I probably mentioned this before, but I don't use the trends to make my picks. I just kind of make my picks, and then I go back and then find trends for those just to back them up. Because some people just like to hear them. Some people don't. Some people just want the picks. If you just want the picks, follow us on Twitter. We just give them out there. You ain't got to listen to us talk. All that good stuff. But yeah, either way, man, this was the Week 4 recap and the early picks for Week 5. Stay tuned for the rest of Week 5 picks in the next couple of days. Like the video. Appreciate that a lot. Subscribe if you are new. And yeah, that'll do it. Have a nice day. Peace.